An Ode, in Imitation of Horace, Book 3, Ode 2, by Matthew Prior. How long, deluded Albion, wilt thou lie in the lethargic sleep, the sad repose by which thy constant enemy has softly lulled thee to thy woes? Or wake, degenerate isle, or cease to own what thy old kings in Gallic camps have done, the spoils they brought thee back, the crowns they won, William, so fate requires. Again is armed, thy father to the field is gone, again Maria weeps her absent lord, for thy repose content to rule alone. Are thy enervate sons not yet alarmed? When William fights dare they look tamely on, so slow to get their ancient fame restored, as not to melt at beauty's tears nor follow Valour's sword? See the repenting isle awakes, her vicious chains the generous goddess breaks, the fogs around her temples are dispelled, abroad she looks, and sees armed Belgia stand prepared to meet ere common lord's command, her lions roaring by her side, her arrows in her hand, and blushing to have been so long withheld, weeps off her crime, and hastens to the field. Henceforth her youth shall be inured to bear hazardous toil and active war, to march beneath the dogstar's raging heat, patient of summer's drought and martial sweat, and only grieve in winter's camp to find its days too short for labors they designed. All night beneath hard heavy arms to watch, all day to mount the trench, to storm the breach, and all the rugged paths to tread where William and his virtue led. Silence is the soul of war. Deliberate counsel must prepare the mighty work which valor must complete. Thus William rescued, thus preserves the state, thus teaches us to think and dare, as, whilst his cannon just prepared to breathe avenging anger and swift death, in the tried metal the close dangers glow, and now, too late, the dying foe perceives the flame, yet cannot ward the blow. So whilst in William's breast ripe counsels lie, secret and sure as brooding fate, no more of his design appears than what awakens Gallia's fears, and, though guilt's eye can sharply penetrate, distracted Lewis can descry only a long unmeasured ruin nigh. On Norman coasts, and banks of frighted Seine, lo! The impending storms begin. Britannia's safely through her master's sea plows up her victorious way. The French Salmonius throws his bolts in vain whilst the true thunderer asserts the main. 'Tis done. To shelves and rocks his fleets retire, swift victory, in vengeful flames, burns down the pride of their presumptuous names. They run to shipwreck to avoid our fire, and the torn vessels that regain their coast are but sad marks to show the rest are lost. All this the mild the beauteous queen has done, and William's softer half shakes Lewis' throne. Maria does the sea command, whilst Gallia flies her husband's arms by land. So, the sun absent, with full sway the moon governs the isles and rules the wave alone, so Juno thunders when her Jove is gone. Io, Britannia, loose thy ocean's chains, whilst Russell strikes the blow thy queen ordains. Thus rescued, thus revered, forever stand, and bless the counsel, and reward the hand, Io Britannia. Thy Maria reigns. From Mary's conquests and the rescued main let France look forth to Sambra's armed shore, and boast her joy for William's death no more. He lives, let France confess the victor lives. Her triumphs for his death were vain, and spoke her terror of his life too plain. The mighty years begin, the days draw nigh in which that one of Lewis' many wives who, by the baleful force of guilty charms has long enthralled him in her withered arms, shall o'er the plains from distant towers on high cast around her mournful eye, and with prophetic sorrow cry, why does my ruined lord retard his flight? As well the wolf may venture to engage the angry lion's generous rage, the ravenous vulture and the bird of night as safely tempt the stooping eagle's flight, as Lewis to unequal arms defy yon hero, crowned with blooming victory just triumphing o'er rebel rage restrained, and yet unbreathed from battles gained. See, all yon dusty fields, quite covered o'er with hostile troops, and orange at their heart, the great designs of laboring fate. Orange, the name that tyrants dread. He comes. Our ruined empire is no more. Down like the Persian goes the Gallic throne. Darius flies. Young Ammon urges on. Now from the dubious battle's mingled heat let fear look back, and stretch her hasty wing, impatient to secure a base retreat. Let the pale coward leave his wounded king, for the vile privilege to breath, to live with shame in dread of glorious death. In vain. For fate has swifter wings than fear, she follows hard, and strikes him in the rear. Dying and mad the traitor bites the ground, his back transfixed with a dishonest wound, whilst through the fiercest troops and thickest press virtues carries on success, whilst equal heaven guards the distinguished brave, and armies cannot hurt whom angels save. Virtue to verse immortal lustre gives. Each by the other's mutual friendship lives. Aeneas suffered and Achilles fought. The hero's acts enlarged the poet's thought, or Virgil's majesty and Homer's rage had ne'er like lasting nature vanquished age. Whilst Lewis then his rising terror drowns with drums, alarms, and trumpets' sounds. Whilst hid in armed retreats and guarded towns, from danger as from honor far, he bribes close murder against open war. In vain your Gallic muses strive with labored verse to keep his fame alive. Your mouldering monuments in vain you raise on the weak basis of the tyrant's praise. Your songs are sold, your numbers are profane, 'tis incense to an idol given, meat offered to Prometheus man, that had no soul from heaven. Against his will you chain your frighted king on rapid Rhine's divided bed, and mock your her, whilst ye sing the wounds for which he never bled. Falsehood does poison on your praise diffuse, and Lewis' fear gives death on Boileau's muse. On its own worth true majesty is reared, and virtue is her own reward. With solid beams and native glory bright, she neither darkness dreads nor covets light. True to herself, and fixed to inborn laws, nor sunk by spite, nor lifted by applause, she from her settled orb looks calmly down on life or death, a prison or a crown. When bound in double chains poor Belgia lay, to foreign arms and inward strife a prey, whilst one good man buoyed up her sinking state, and virtue labored against fate. When fortune basely with ambition joined, and all was conquered but the patriot's mind. When storms let loose, and raging seas, just ready the torn vessel to o'erwhelm, forced not the faithful pilot from his helm, nor all the siren songs of future peace, and dazzling prospect of a promised crown, could lure his stubborn virtue down, but against charms, and threats, and hell he stood to that which was severely good. Then had no trophies justified his fame, no poet blessed his song with Nassau's name. Virtue alone did all that honor bring, and heaven as plainly pointed out the king, as when he at the altar stood in all his types and robes of power, whilst at his feet religious Britain bowed, and owned him next to what we there adore. Say joyful Meace, and Boyne's victorious flood, for each has mixed his waves with royal blood. When William's armies passed, did he retire, or view from far the battle's distant fire? Could he believe his person was too dear? Or use his greatness to conceal his fear? Could prayers or sighs the dauntless hero move? Armed with heaven's justice, and his people's love, through the first waves he winged his venturous way, and on the adverse shore arose, 10,000 flying deaths in vain oppose. Like the great ruler of the day, with strength and swiftness mounting from the sea, like him all day he toiled, but long in night the god has eased his wearied light, ere vengeance left the stubborn foes, or William's labors found repose. When his troops faltered, stepped not he between, restored the dubious fight again, marked out the coward that durst fly, and led the fainting brave to victory? Still as she fled him, did he not o'ertake her doubtful course, still brought her bleeding back? By his keen sword did not the boldest fall? Was he not king, commander, soldier, all? His dangers such as, with becoming dread, his subjects yet unborn shall weep to read, and were not those the only days that ere the pious prince refused to hear his friends' advices, or his subjects' prayer? Where'er old Rhine his fruitful water turns, or fills his vassals' tributary urns, to Belgia's saved dominions, and the sea, whose righted waves rejoice in William's sway. Is there a town where children are not taught? Here Holland prospered, for here Orange fought through rapid waters, and through flying fire. Here rushed the prince, here made whole France retire? By different nations be his valor blessed, in different languages confessed, and then let Shannon speak the rest. Let Shannon speak, how on her wandering shore, when conquest hovering on his arms did wait, and only asked some lives to bribe her o'er. The godlike man, the more than conqueror, with high contempt sent back the specious bait, and, scorning glory at a price too great, with so much power, such piety did join, as made a perfect virtue soar a pitch unknown to man before, and lifted Shannon's waves o'er those of Boyne. Nor do his subjects only share the prosperous fruits of his indulgent reign, his enemies approve the pious war, which, with their weapon, takes away their chain. More than his sword his goodness strikes his foes, they bless his arms, and sigh they must oppose. Justice and freedom on his conquests wait, and 'tis for man's delight that he is great. Succeeding times shall with long joy contend if he were more a victor or a friend, so much his courage and his mercy strive, he wounds to cure, and conquers to forgive. Ye heroes, that have fought your country's cause, redressed her injuries, or formed her laws, to my adventurous song just witness bear. assist the pious muse, and hear her swear, that 'tis no poet's thought, no flight of youth but solid story and severest truth, that William treasures up a greater name than any country, any age, can boast, and all that ancient stock of fame he did from his forefathers take he has improved, and gives with interest back, and in his constellation does unite their scattered rays of fainter light, above or envy's lash or fortune's wheel, that settled glory shall forever dwell, above the rolling orbs in common sky, where nothing comes that e'er shall die, where roves the muse, where, thoughtless to return, is her short-lived vessel borne, by potent winds, too subject to be tossed, and in the sea of William's praises lost. Nor let her tempt that deep, nor make the shore where our abandoned youth she sees shipwrecked in luxury and lost in ease, whom nor Britannia's danger can alarm, nor William's exemplary virtue warm. Tell them, howe'er, the king can yet forgive their guilty sloth, their homage yet receive, and let their wounded honour live, but sure and sudden be their just remorse, swift be their virtue's rise, and strong its course, for though for certain years and destined times merit has lain confused with crimes, though Jove seemed negligent of human cares, nor scourged our follies, nor returned our prayers, his justice now demands the equal scales, sedition is suppressed and truth prevails, fate its great ends by slow degrees attains, and Europe is redeemed, and William reigns.